If you're just joining us, you are welcome to the Firelight. This is the channel where we turn everything adversity into advantage. So there is a lie that sounds like humility. This is a lie, but it actually sounds like humility. And it says, once I have more. Once I have more money, once I have more time, once I have more resources, more connections, and the list can go on and on and on. And guess what? This will give me a head start. Then I'll be able to do the things you can name them, the things I want to do. I want to tear that lie apart today. I want to tear that apart today because um, the people who change their lives, the people who change their families, the people who change their cities are almost never the ones who started with the most. They are the ones who learned to turn less into an advantage. So I am Dr. Vivian Atud, and this is the Firelight Advantage, where we turn constraints into competitive advantage. Let's begin where the whole story began. And I want to take you. I'm going to go slow so you really follow with me. I grew up studying by the firelight in Cameroon, and you might begin to ask why is it important? You know, I was the first in my family to actually reach university. Um, and one of the things that the firelight taught me is that when you have only that little flame, guess what? You don't waste it. Um, you have to hold your page close to the flame so that you are able to see what really matters. You are able to read what really matters. You can't waste your flame of light. So you stop trying to light the whole room. You start focusing on what is important. You start seeing the thing that is really, really necessary, the thing that is in front of you, because that is what is important. That people who are flooded with light, maybe from upstairs to basement to everywhere, might not even see what is really, really important. So that is the firelight advantage. As I put it, it's not poetry, it is a pattern. We are told constantly that advantage flows downhill from abundance, from abundance and down, and she would be able to get the advantage. The more resources you start with, the further you can go through in some cases, but there is a limit. Data tells us something far more interesting, and that is beyond a certain point in life, resources can dull every edge that gets people moving. I'll repeat that. Beyond a certain point in life, resources, beyond a certain level of resources, too much resources are going to dull the edge of that very knife, that very thing that keeps you moving. And constraint, that thing that you have been apologizing for, quietly does three jobs that comfort can never do. And I am going to be focusing on that. And I call them the three forces of less: focus, forge, and fuel. Focus, forge, and fuel. And these three focuses, or these three forces of these are, in my view, forces of the same single flame. And I would give you each one of them with details and with some evidence that can actually help you navigate wherever you are dealing with constraint before this episode. If you're joining us live, you're welcome to the Firelight Advantage. My name is Dr. Vivian Atud, and always a pleasure to have you. So let's talk about force number one, and that is focus. There is well replicated finding in psychology that more options don't make people freer. You know, Past a certain point, more options you get brings you paralysis. And there is a famous research done about the jam study. Shoppers were shown 20 varieties of jam, and others were shown 6 varieties of jam. And guess what? The studies say that those that actually ended up buying the jam were mostly those who were showed 6 variety. Those who had so much just got their attention scattered and they ended up not buying any jam. So when you have limited resources, you cannot afford to chase 10 things. The constraint makes the decision for you. What must you chase because you don't have so much options? That is not disadvantage. That is free strategic clarity. That your over resourced friends and counterparts and competitors, they are paying consultants, they are paying experts to help them find focus. You already have it because of your constraint. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. So here's the force number one, talking about focus. And let me make it more practical for you. You want to look at your priority list and cut the one thing that your constraint, your current circumstances makes that one particular thing unavoidable. I know there are many things you want to do, but there is the one that you need to do, and that is what your constraint will focus you to, and that will help you to prioritize. And what will happen now once you pick that? um Let your limitation do the focusing for you. Don't stress at trying to do focusing when your limitation can actually help you. So let's talk about force number two, and that is forge. That is forge. And scientists talk about leading scientist Robert Brock. He wrote a verse that I want you to carry for life, and it says, desirable difficulties. Desirable difficulties. And his research did show that conditions that make learning feel harder at the moment, struggles, effort, having to generate answers for yourself are precisely those conditions that makes the learning stick. It makes the learning stick. And he went ahead to say, easy practice feels good at the moment, but guess what? It fades. When you practice and the practice it hard to practice, it lasts. So now try to apply that to your whole life. The person who has figured it all out without a tutor, um, without the safety net, without the connections, was not robbed. If that's you, you were never robbed. You were forged. You were forged. And guess what? You're going to go ahead and build capabilities and the things you've built under pressure. The person who had all the tutors, all the assistants have never had the opportunity to build like you. The muscle only grows against resistance, as you push up, as you do that. That's how the muscle grow. So the same is true of you. So force number two makes you to realize that you need to stop asking for your limitation to go away. Your limitation is that force, is that resistance that helps you to build that muscle. And you need to ask, what's this resistance building? What muscle is a building, and you need to learn to train. Use it as a training ground. Don't use it as punishment. Or I'm excited about this. If you're joining us live on any of our platforms, this is really the Firelight Advantage, and I am Dr. Vivian Atud. I want to talk to you about force number 3. And I want to take you back to research because that's my background. And there is a body of research that is called post traumatic growth. Um, and this has been founded by psychologists, that significant number of people who pass through adversity, pass through all kinds of trials, they don't merely recover. They come out with a deeper purpose. They come out with stronger relationships. They come out with greater resilience than they had before the traumatic event happened. And we have researcher Angela Duckworth, whose work actually showed that great sustained passion and perseverance towards a particular goal, it actually predicts achievement better than raw talent. Think about it. How much you sustain, how much you persevere, how much you focus on that goal, it actually predicts that you will succeed better than the most equipped person in that field. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? And when you want to put all this together, focus, forge, and all these 3 forces, you see that um, the third force, hardship, when you metabolize it into meaning, guess what? It becomes your longest burning fuel. There is nothing, comfort can never give you this, because guess what? In your comfort zone, you try to manufacture motivation because you are already comfort. They say everything you want is outside your comfort zone. So if you were handed it, think about it, it's never going to last. So the very thing that was supposed to stop you becomes the reason that you do the things that any other ordinary person who hasn't been through what you've been through would do. So force number 3, if we want to simplify it, really say, write down your why. Write down your why. Your constraint gives you the drive. Your empathy gave you the hunger, that someone who never lacked the things that you lacked will they will never possess. And here, I mean, if you come from a faith background like I do, I would say this is what I believe. And scripture is so stubborn on this particular point. Guess what? Gideon has a mighty army and he wants to go to battle, and he's like, these are my guys, and we're just gonna win this battle. And guess what? God says to the guy, "Mm-mm, I'm gonna reduce your battle, because victory less, it's more." And you think about the story in the Old Testament talking about the widow, the little oil of the widow, they use it to multiply. You think about God and Jesus, in my power is made perfect in your weakness. The pattern of heaven is not addition before the miracle. The miracle happens with less. So, less in the right hands is not a deficit, it's a setup. It's a setup. If you listen to this episode and you've been wondering, oh, I've got less, your hands are the right hands. Guess what? This is a setup for multiplication. So put these forces together. Your constraint focuses you. Let it do it for you. Let it forge you. Let it cause you to learn new ways of doing things. Let it fuel you to move forward. And remember, why are you doing all this? Your focus, your forge, your fuel, one flame, three different faces. They're already burning in you right now. If you're listening to me right now and you're thinking about, oh, the way you grew up. I mean, I grew up studying by the firelight. I've been so blessed to talk in all kinds of boards and platforms and sit around all kinds of tables. And not because I was born with advantage, because guess what? My firelight had always been an advantage, not a disadvantage. So hear me, hear me. You want to stop waiting for more. Mhm. You want to stop waiting for more. The advantage was never the resources, it was the fire. And that fire is in you. Are you going to continue to let it burn? And the fire has always been in you. That little light has always been in you. Are you going to let it shine? The people who go furthest in life are not the ones who started with the brightest light, the ones who started in the brightest room. They are the ones who learned to see with a single flame. I saw with a firelight, read books that build my foundation to become everything. And that can be your story. So you want to take the next step in spite of your situation. You want to go out there, write that book, start that podcast, start whatever it is that you really want to do right now. And stop talking about your constraint. They have always been an advantage. And you don't need a whole room of light. You need one flame, one next step. So, question to you is before you go, what is that one thing that has been like a constraint, that has been like, oh, your darkness around you? And what is that one thing? I want you to write it down. Write it down, write that constraint. And besides the constraint, I want you to name the advantage that it is secretly forcing the focus, the skills, the drive that it is building in you. And obviously follow the firelight advantage so that every next flame it's going to find you. And three, I'm sure you know someone out there who is battling with constraint and thinking that it is a disadvantage. You want to share this video with them, like, subscribe to the Firelight Advantage, where we bring you fires every week on this platform. And we are taking it beyond this platform. Check the links in the description. Join our community. Join our community where we are bringing all things together: artificial intelligence, teaching ourselves how to do podcasting, teaching our community, writing books, and everything that we know. We are a given community and we want to grow like that. Check the links in the description. Be a part of this community, and I will see you in the next episode.